in terms of building confidence, function and appearance, because I wanted to tell you about what's happening at the National Centre and the Biomedical Engineering Department in the university. And I feel that building confidence and comfort, function and appearance comes from that education and training in our practitioners. So it's important to understand where the practitioners come from, what the students are doing, and what we currently have in our degree process. So Strathclyde University is a nice picture of the campus, just taken off of Montrose Street. This is the old Rotten Row Gardens, this is the old Rotten Row Hospital, which has now been demolished. And you can just see in the centre of the picture, there's a building, the sort of striped building just in the far part of the picture there. That's the Department of Biomedical Engineering, the Wilson building. So the university was established in 1796 by John Anderson. He was a professor of natural philosophy in Glasgow University, no less, but he wanted a second university set up in Glasgow. And his sort of remit or mandate was that the university had to be, for the good of mankind and improvement of science, a place of useful learning. And I feel that's a really good fit for the Department of Biomedical Engineering, a Prosthetics and Orthotics department. It's also, the fact is that it's probably in one of the highest parts of Glasgow. So it's quite nice when you're in, I actually happen to be on the 6th floor of this office, so if I stand on a chair in my office, I can sometimes be the highest up person in the whole of Glasgow. The National Centre for Training and Education, as it was then, was founded in 1972 from the Bioengineering Unit in the university, and became a degree, the course, in 1986, with the first students graduating in 1990. I think there might be one of those students here today. Sandy, did you graduate in 1990?
I graduated in 1988. I'm really old.
Only by 2 years.
And it was the first degree, but in the second year the degree changed, so that would have been the first full people coming through. Yeah,
right.
I'm ancient.
My date's wrong. But in 2012 we merged back together again. We had really essentially two departments. One was doing the research in prosthetics and orthotics, and one was doing the education, the undergraduate education. It made much more sense to bring the departments back together. And of course, there's a lot of Strathclyders here today, and a lot of people will ask me, was that a good thing? Was it a good move? And I think it's really opened up a lot of possibilities to our students, to the profession as such, for postgraduate education, research, showing a route through where people can become very highly qualified indeed. And if you don't believe me, I wanted to show you a little video.
Biomedical engineering is the maintenance of the health of society.
It's the link between technology and medicine.
It's not just about knowledge, it's about coming up with a device that could help people and patients.
Here at the University of Strathclyde, we focus primarily on developing technologies, devices and techniques that will make a difference and will impact on global healthcare needs.
If you don't have access to an actual full-scale hospital, you can have point-of-care elements that you can take out into the field and use and treat people who might not be able to be treated.
Increase the quality of life for people that are suffering from problems like hip replacements. They're trying to make them lighter, more durable, cardiac devices, reduce the need for transplants, really to help people in the easiest and most cost-effective way.
We're really working, I think, in many levels at the cutting edge of medical technology. We're working with the military to develop a new form of blood salvage system for deployment in the battlefield. We have a group who've developed the PEEK technology, that's a diagnostic device for looking at the retina, for looking at the eye. And we have staff that are engaged in medical device development and rehabilitation science. And we have staff who are engaged in cell and tissue engineering.
The staff is so friendly and and their expertise in their field.
The department's well run and staff are nice, the facilities are great.
We've been kind of welcomed right into the department, and the lecturers are all really helpful.
I think it's a fabulous discipline. You know, it's making a difference to folks who are real need, and that's exciting. It's very positive in every way.
So that's just to give you a flavour of some of the things that go on in the department. It's a really inspirational place to work. There's incredible things happening in that department, and prosthetics and orthotics is a big part of that. We constantly, though, are striving to really improve our degree. We're always making changes and trying to move the degree forward, to keep up with technological changes, to keep up with best educational practices. And we're trying to really essentially create a practitioner who can combine specialist engineering with this specialist medical knowledge. I should say that Strathclyde's in the top 5 engineering universities in the UK, so we're in good company there. And it's really about trying to elicit and help people learn about the understanding of biomechanics, about the normal ways that people walk and the things that can affect walking. And of course, we're trying to think about creating an individual or trying to elicit skills in an individual to allow them to analyse the functional loss of a person. If you can communicate and talk to someone and elicit their story from them, then everyone is different. And try to understand what the limitations that someone experiences during daily activity is really, really important. So that if you can analyse this functional loss as well as having very good assessment skills, physical assessment skills, and a great knowledge of the different components and materials and socket designs, as well as the orthotic materials and designs, then you can at least try your best to prescribe the most suitable prosthesis or orthosis for the user's requirements. And that's the same for orthotics. It's an analysis of functional loss, and it's about getting that information from the patient, from the person, from the user, to try and understand what their needs are so that we can try and best replace that. We of course work collaboratively in a healthcare team, so that's all embedded within the degree as well, and we provide integrated treatment as part of that. And of course, part of the theme of today is function, comfort and appearance. They must understand the anatomy, they must enjoy working with people, and they have to appreciate that different people have different needs and come from different backgrounds. So how we do that at the moment, and it's a changing feast because it's always being updated, is that we have a 4-year course. In years 1, 2 and 3, it's mostly theoretically based classes. And in years 3 and 4, we consolidate that really with 2 4-month clinical placements. And that's about something that Professor Hansbach said earlier. You can't teach someone communication, but you can show them how to communicate, and then it is about practice. And a lot of the practice that the students get is relying on our relationship with our clinical partners in the NHS and in the companies throughout the UK. They will then return in year 4 and talk a little bit more about the project that they do and some of the optional modules that they might go on to do. Some of the content is about professional and technical skills. They sometimes come to the university, they're not proficient in using machinery or to make devices, so it's about learning the methods by which we make devices currently, and that includes learning about some of the most up-to-date technology, although it's not used often enough in the undergraduate degree. That could come in more, and I think that today has shown us that in actual fact cutting-edge technology needs to keep coming into the degree programme, but that's a challenge to do that. Professional skills, it's about how you conduct yourself in terms of your clinical manner with the the users of the clinics, but also with fellow professionals, how you communicate. Of course, you've got to learn about the anatomy, physiology, and pathology. And you have to think about the different forces. Richard was talking very much about the different forces and the mechanics and biomechanics of a device on the body. You must understand all of this all together, and it's really about getting all these pieces of the jigsaw and introducing these at the right time. We teach the prosthetic and orthotic science in separate modules, so we do introduce the students to professional users who come in and volunteer for us. And without them, and there's some of them here today, I can see, and without them, really our degree doesn't work. We rely on members of the public to give up their time to come in, to demonstrate, and to allow the students to demonstrate on them. That way, they're putting their education into practice on that person. And I've got a video later on of Jeff, who's here today, who will say that a lot better than I can. But we tend to provide the prosthetic and orthotic science modules in very sort of artificial blocks as such. We deal with different levels of amputation separately because we have to think about the theoretical side of that. We have to think about the biomechanics of that. We have to think about the anatomy and the physiology and the pathology. And the gait expectations as well. But we do bring it all together at the end in a more holistic approach. We don't want students or any of our professionals looking at a problem. We're dealing with a person here. The clinical placements, as I say, as I've said already, really in all over the country and in Europe as well. We've even had students who went to Sudan on placement as well. We rely on approved centres, so they know what the standards are that we expect at Strathclyde. And we really rely on our clinical partners in this regard. The students have to fulfil a number of hurdles in terms of problem-based assessments, which are very difficult for the students to do, and they've got about, I think, 6 to do on each placement. After which time they come back and do, I shouldn't be allowed to mention this here because there are some students here, but they have to come back and do a clinical exam. In fact, they'll do that after each of their clinical placements. Developments really are, in the whole degree, are really, we now do, when the students return from their placements, they will do an undergraduate project. And some of these projects have been tremendous, really at a very high level. They've been published in peer-reviewed journals. They've been presented at ISPO World Congress. These are great opportunities to get our skilled young people who are just starting out in the profession, without all of the bias that we talked about during the break. Really, they've got a clear vision of using technology or doing things in a different way without preconceived ideas that might be holding them back. And we've seen some wonderful projects. This is a 40-credit project. It's really tough, really hard for the students. It's really about letting them go and getting them into some independent research. They'll either do a literature review or they'll do a small experiment, and that might involve bringing in some users to experiment on. So, we work in collaboration with our clinical partners again. These aren't things that the staff only dream up. These are things that the staff might think are, problems within, gaps in the literature. There might be things that the students actually think up by themselves, thinking, well, in actual fact, this part of prosthetics or orthotics, I don't really feel that I've really got a handle on that. I don't really feel that it was taught particularly well. I think I need to investigate that more. Or it can be from the stakeholders themselves who've identified a problem and want to engage with us. And we really welcome that engagement. We always do a stakeholder conference and we get the students to present. And if any of you would like an invite, please let me know. We'd be delighted to have it. Prosthetics and orthotics are in huge demand worldwide. So the career prospects are generally very good for our students. We have full employment, or almost full employment for our students. Great career prospects UK and internationally. Most graduates will work within the NHS or within the companies that provide the services for the NHS. But, and I didn't see this at the start, we have 25 funded students from the UK, home students, or the EU, and we also take, generally it's between 7 to 10 students we have places for, although it's not a capped number for international students. It's just a question of resources and fitting everybody in the designated spaces. Okay. Some go into clinical practice, some go into management, research and education. So there's some fantastic opportunities. But more and more we're seeing now that as the sort of path is being shown by some of our students, like Joanne, like Fatma, we're seeing more and more students looking towards a PhD, looking towards MSc, and we have several different offerings in MScs in either for prosthetics and orthotics, or in biomedical or bioengineering. We also, just last year, started an MSc for those in prosthetics and orthotics, so that's just for clinicians in prosthetics and orthotics. That's either by distance learning or by full-time study. Just to tell you a little bit about some of the other things that the students do, they also, I should say actually, we've got all of the MSc in prosthetics and orthotics students here today, so they're coming from all over the world and from Glasgow as well, which is great to see, and we hope that that's going to grow in the future.
That was at a poetry event, that picture was taken.
Yeah, that's right. That was in Knockenhow, wasn't it? Yeah, that's great. So we also run different projects with the students because we realise that the need for prosthetics is mostly in low-income countries. And one of the things that we do, and Strathclyde does several of these projects, but the prosthetics and orthotics project, we take students to work in an Indian clinic for 2 weeks every year, 2 weeks or 10 days every year. It's in Chennai. You can just about see my tiny map of India there at the bottom, which I've squeezed in. Chennai is otherwise known as Madras, and this is a charitable clinic. It's a Jaipur-style clinic. They're making prosthesis and orthosis out of drain pipes and the Jaipur refurbished food from car tyres, etc. It's low level. People would not get a prosthesis otherwise. At the moment in India, the situation is not really, the rehabilitation is not particularly well joined up if you don't have money. So we take our students, highly trained students who have been in their placements, and we make them work in these in this low-level clinic, and it creates a lot of debate. Why are we doing it this way? Why do we, why are we not doing it the way that we do it in the UK or the established ways? Well, it's really important to reflect that we have actually a very good setup here. I know it could be improved, but we have an excellent setup here by comparison to others. So it's a really good journey for the students, and every year for me as well. We've been going for 5 years now. So it's a wonderful opportunity. It is all charitably funded, and if I could just put in a quick plug, there's a little link at the bottom of the page there. If anyone would like to find out more about it, there's a web page about that. In fact, there's a fantastic web pages about Strathclyde University as well, all online. I think we do provide a bit of benefit to the clinics. I think the students are really keen. Everybody comes home absolutely exhausted after a day in this very hot, busy clinic, and no one talks on the way home because they're all too tired. It's a wonderful experience, but I think that we're generally doing some good work out there, and we're trying to move things on, trying to educate as we go, and we've been making 1 or 2 changes. It does take a long time. So finally, I did mention that without the users coming in to help us with our teaching, it really wouldn't work. The whole way that we teach is that we like to do the theoretical stuff, and then we like to put that into practice, and then we revisit the theoretical things again. And I think we rely on our volunteers who come in, very much, they teach as much as I do on the course, and without them, I think the course wouldn't be.
We're talking 1983 in the Falkland Islands, not during the war, but after the war. And I was running the military bomb disposal for the British Army in the Falkland Islands. And I was doing a reconnaissance outside a minefield with a colleague of mine who was walking in front of me, and we were outside a minefield, and I stood on a mine and it blew my foot off, basically. I started working with the students when one of the prosthetists, the West of Scotland Mobility and Rehabilitation Centre, Westmark, suggested that because I'm really quite mobile for somebody who has a prosthetic leg, that I might like to work with students in the university. And actually, I feel good about it because I pay something back. So I love it. I absolutely, thoroughly enjoy it. The students, it's one thing seeing it on a drawing, in a movie, but do it for real. And it's real flesh and real bone. And most importantly, different types of limb, different types of amputation. And you're handling it. And we're all different. Every one of us is different. And the students get used to talking and handling and then designing something, which is most important. It enables me to walk out of this room. If people like that won't do the job. It's got to be one of the most rewarding jobs in the world to build a leg, put it on somebody and see them walk. It doesn't get any better than that. That's it. It's a fantastic profession.
So I'd like to thank Jeff, who's here today, for telling his story and for allowing us to present that here today. I think that really shows, captures the essence of what we're trying to do at Strathclyde, and the essence of the relationship between prosthetists, orthotists